for that poem. I don't believe in words as much as I believe in breath and voice, the saintly sense of human touch, and nature's gentle female voice. And I don't know if there's a God, but I believe in life and people, that's sad yet beautiful, this life has shots of joy, however little. I don't believe in empty words that kings and tyrants speak forever. I put my trust in Mother Earth and pray she teaches them their lessons. And I believe in seeking wisdom and stepping into lucid rivers that soul and sky can shine like mirror, and mine can be as clear as silver. Was raised on salty winds of oceans. I fed on rocky shores and cliffs, and in the evening I baked poems and served them to my humble guests. And I picked language brick by brick and placed those bricks on deep foundations created by the wise and ancient of generations before me. And in the morning strings were tightened by my exhausted human hands. I'd inhale music just like air and exhale song back into nature. And deep at night my mind would wander, the land of myth and solemn stars. When clouds leave patterns on my city, and work is done, and eyes are shut, I see the same dreams in the evening. I sense the same old destined flight. When birds invade those clouded buildings, and tears evoke and spray graffiti, and when there's wisdom in your eyes, that's when I sense such wondrous feelings, when truth can still glimmer inside. When tears stroll down the rusted ceiling, and green and blue is all I see, I cannot help but love this feeling, this poverty, this ceaseless light. The rest of the poets. This is a long one, kind of intense too. I woke up at 6:37. Static flickered like music above me. In my eyes the sky shattered like heaven. It was remnant debris from my nightmare. In my mouth I had taste of things rotten, stale and copper with dreams white as cotton. They all tapped on my thoughts from the bottom, as a dream of my youth, long forgotten. And I walked in my half-death decaying, melting over the floor in this silence. What am I? I could hear myself saying, and then plunging my thoughts into violence. Long destroyed, long dismayed, long abandoned, all the sorrow of truth now dismantled, toxic, was spread across this great battle. Field is empty from corpses collected. This is what the soul looks like inspected, with a palette and with a dagger. When you place a big blood stain right at it, when you pull it and squeeze it and stab it, this is somewhat the banner of knowledge that the 21st century granted, that gave birth to this massive destruction on a planet revolving like madness. But outside of this violent system, there are pictures of great and good people, just like you, just like me. They exist here, only merciless, empty and filthy. In this world outside of these borders, beyond this decayed human fortress, there are robots who govern the forces of the mind, of the soul, of the noises. In this world, I live like a prisoner. I have dreams, and I never fulfill them. And I want to escape. I want freedom. Yet I work, and I work like a prisoner. And I want to leave all the people who surround me, who constantly kill me. Salt is sprinkled on wounds, and it's bleeding. And blood drops and collects and heals quickly. And the temper is flared, and the passion burns for only a pure single second. And arrives the right time of repression, where the world is still hungry and empty. Where I wake up at 6:37, with the chains on my feet slowly dragging. I hear angels debating in heaven if we're worthy of their crazy heaven. I see crowds filling stadium masses, people losing their heads, people killing, people filling their pockets with sadness in the form of a cheap copper penny. People burden our small, damaged planet, wake up lonely and smoke every morning, and their sadness is such a sick habit that their cigarette helps for a moment. And we look at our life from a distance. It's not us who is living. We're dying. Someone else leads a life of resistance. Someone else will rise up, everybody. But no one gives a shit about fighting. Scrubbing shit is enough for this lifetime. Some would rather collect all their money and then die buried with it inside them. I was born in one end of an empire and exiled in another just like it, with the same political nightmare and the same human toll without end. And I live like a quiet little hermit. I observe ashes over my head. Often I dream up of riots and then watch bricks fall out of my hands. Often I sing about freedom, and sometimes I explain to a friend, in this lifetime, we'll be hanged by our people. We'll be saints to them all when we're dead. And sometimes I feel misery pushing on my shoulders so early each time, and I chant like a prayer, revolution, with a sickly and heavenly smile. And I look in the dark tainted mirror, and I smile at myself, and I laugh. Through this fog I can see so much clearer that destruction is nearer each time. These are thoughts from my 637, when the world is half dead and half gone, when the stars are still clear and the danger of existence is felt every time. I'm going to do one more. The monk devoted to the goddess of poems, where every color was drenched in deep blue and deep gray. I lived like the grass growing in the fields near my forest, swaying and swaying in her thunders and rain. I was always sad and depressed and searching for wisdom in people, but she was always happy and joyful, and it seemed that she lived in heaven. And at one point in my journey, I looked up and saw her in her full radiance, and she smiled to me and said, "Come up here for a while." And I flew up to the high clouds, far beyond my cities and highways, and saw our life from the top, and it resembled such poverty. Our lives compared to these gods, I said to her, was like the Stone Age. We were like tiny little huts compared to New York's skyline. Who knew that while I lived and worked in Erebus, she and her friends had light and happiness? And she looked down at me again and touched my pale and tired hand, and I saw in her eyes human traits of sadness and grief, and understood that even gods must walk the earth, and they must too feel these same things. We stared into one another on that height, and slowly I fell back to earth from those clouds upon which she remained, and I fell down onto the grass on which her soft lips blew, and staring back up at the sky, now covered in deep blue, I remembered her look for eternity, and understood once more that I was given hands and heart to feel what she is saying, that poetry like blood entered my heart, and mind was open to the stars. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Alex. As far as throwing things on the floor while you're reading them, I've seen that done before, and it's wonderful. It really is. I really wanted to give a little bit more of an introduction to Alex than I did. The thing that I gotten or felt from listening to his poetry read before is it is very lyrical to me. I mean, there's the words and the way the words are working together. There's a lot of soft images, but there's also a lot of I'd say, depth in the relation of what's going on in those images and also in the words, and some of the things that the work that is rhyming in those and the meter in it is I don't know. You don't hear a lot of this. You don't hear a lot of that these days. And also the deal is that after hearing Alex read a couple of times here in the past, I realize you really can't get as different between, from one